But just how scary was that?
The worst thing was probably seeing the wife so upset. And I always joke around, they pushing to the limits, and that was my limit. I mean, it was super challenging, but this is a brutal sport, and it's for the toughest men and women on the planet.
One of the toughest strongmen in history, right here. It's not a beauty contest. This is strongman. Have to be alive. If you can't do that, then and away we go.
Welcome to the Giants Life Strongman Podcast. Once again joined by Darren, Colin, myself, and one of the largest pieces of humanity you're ever likely to meet. Give it up for the loveliest man and all strongman. It's Gavin Bilton.
Big Gav. Yeah.
Gav, you're dwarfing all of us here.
That feels cool, yeah, man.
How are you, mate? Because obviously you've been through a lot the last 12 months.
Yeah, really good. In a good place, physically and mentally. I'm happy to be back. Yeah, just back in the fold. Yeah.
He's a real character, Bracey.
Gav's almost magnetic, you know. He's got his own gravity. He's so big, so he probably is magnetic. But you know, he's. You've already got some dubious and/or fantastic titles. You know, you know, obviously Wales' strongest man, but also the heaviest man to ever compete on a debut, or maybe just ever at Wales' strongest man. But what weight were you then, and what are you now? Because you're looking in good shape.
Yeah, I think I'm in better shape. I was a shape like 3 years ago.
Shape.
It was just a shape. Yeah, but I just got stuck in that thing that bigger was better and heavier was.
215 kilos?
It was, yeah.
215?
Yeah, it was bad. It was just.
What's that in pounds? Can anyone do it for pounds quickly? That's a hell of a lot.
470, is that?
Is that the heaviest guy ever at World Strongest?
Yeah, you did make a statement.
That's official.
Yeah.
That's
official. It was my first year at it. It was sort of like I'd done a show beforehand and won that, and then it was my season was over, if that makes sense. I was just eating because then I had the phone call off yourself, and then so I think I had 10 days to try and get ready for it.
Yeah, you were the last man. You were.
Yeah, I was quite heavy, but yeah, I was stuck in that thing. It was just a bad cycle of being the biggest is the best, and it really isn't.
Have you ever worked on a door?
Yeah, I do door work. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just imagining you going to me, sorry, you're not coming in tonight. At no point do I think, oh, go on, mate. It's just, yeah, I'm definitely not coming in tonight.
It is like a double-edged sword. It can help, and then a lot of people want to challenge it. But I'm a nice guy.
Well, the hey big man kind of
it is.
syndrome.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, but I enjoy door work. It's good. I work with a great team. I've done sort of security all my life, so it just helps me pass the time. I run my gym through the week, and then on the weekends I do door work.
And what makes you such a good doorman?
I think it's the moustache. I think. Yeah, it is.
Tell us more about the moustache. It's easily the most discussed thing.
It was just I grew it from November, like 3-4 years ago, and then to annoy the wife, I do love her, by the way, but I just kept it. She was like, it's over, and I was like, no, it isn't. And then 3 or 4 years
This is never over.
It's never over. Yeah, and it's a thing. It's just stuck with me. I think
you never caught her over you at night while you're asleep, just trying.
It was the most asked question on the Instagram when we said we interviewed him. How does he look after his moustache? What do you do?
I do have a comb.
Do you walk it or do you
daily walks to and from the
Massage curl?
Yeah, I did have it curled once, which might come back for the Worlds maybe. I do have wax for it. I got a little comb I use. I talk to it to calm it down. So yeah,
it's quite high maintenance.
Yeah.
Mate,
That's getting famous.
Something you are elite at is the Arnie impression.
Yeah, that was kind of off the cuff, wasn't it? Obviously, most of us grew up watching his films. He's a legend himself. Yeah, so.
You monster.
Come on, we have to do
it. This is basically so he can do his impressions because he really fancies himself.
I've never met the guy.
Well, why don't you do Donald Trump and you can
No. I'm not doing Donnie. Okay, let's hear Arnie now.
That was pretty good, yeah.
You monster.
Yeah. You monster, yeah. You got to get to your chopper.
Get your hands off my chopper. Sorry. He's doing Trump. I don't know.
It is so good. It is so good. I mean, in terms of your goals in this sport, because, like I say, you've come in from, you have a rugby background, first of all.
Yeah, I played a very good level of rugby in the Welsh Premiership. Played for London Irish. I think it was under Nick Kennedy at the time, who was an absolute legend within the sport. I was lucky enough to play for the British Army and my home team, Caerphilly.
Were you on the wing?
Yeah, yes. Frustrated winger, I think I was. Yeah, frustrated outside half.
If you don't know rugby, that's the skinniest man, normally fast. But you were second row.
But you were slim. I mean, seeing pictures of you in the military.
What did you weigh then?
I was about 120, 130. And that's a decent second row at any level. That's for Bridgend, you have like conditioners and you have nutritionists.
It's a very big second. I mean,
I was really good. I'm never that guy to sort of like blow my own trumpet and go, I was amazing. But I was good. At one point, I was knocking at the doors of the Ospreys. I mean, and I was in surgery on my hand, broke my nose, things like that. Just, concussion was a massive thing as well. Yeah, but just missed out getting involved with them lot.
Did you have a few concussions?
Yeah, I think I was knocked out like 3-4 times. I think. I mean,
because you got massive heat, you know.
Yeah, that was the thing. That has its own gravitational pull as well. I definitely grew into my head. So that was the thing. Like, so I'm happy for the
I can't imagine you getting knocked out.
Yeah, it was against me playing Cambridge for the British Army, and I picked up on the back of ruck, and they don't look like much same guys across the bridge. I'm not insulting them. They're an amazing team, and just smoked me. Yeah, I tried to just bosh him, and he was up underneath my elbows, and I was on my back before I knew it. And
really,
yeah, they were a great team. We beat them, but it was when the rules weren't that big, so I think I got smashed, and then I just carried on playing. Yeah.
Oh, like almost like a dump tackle kind of.
Yeah, well, it sort of just folded me over, and just the impact on the floor. But
you mentioned as well that you played for Army. What's your Army background then?
I did 13 years in the Welsh Guards. Loved it. It's always something I wanted to do. Join the Army. Maybe I watched Rambo too many times. Probably Arnie. It was nothing like them. Yeah, it was nothing like that. I was gutted. But it's just something I've always wanted to do. My grandfather was in. My brother did. He was in for 4 years.
Always Welsh Guardsman?
Yeah, my brother was a Welsh Guard. No, my grandfather was in the artillery. So just something I've always wanted to do. I think the turning point was when they came to my school and they had like, I think it was the Marines or the Paras, and they just had all their like weaponry with them, and I was like, that's cool as hell. I wasn't great in school, I was a little shit, and military was the way forward for me.
But it would be fair to say, when you did 2 tours of Afghanistan,
yeah,
and at one point, Welsh Guards were in the most dangerous part. Doing the most dangerous operations, and you were a part of that, weren't you?
Yeah, 2000, Herrick 10. We were the spearhead of the battle group, which means it was our tour, if that makes sense, and we were in Helmand Province. How
old were you then? You must be.
Oh my God, 21.
Yeah, I bet you grew up quick then, didn't you?
Yeah, you have to become a man straight away. It's a man's job, infantry. Every job in the army is okay. Infantry is obviously the best, but you have to grow up out there. It's a war zone. They wrote a book about it called Dead Men Risen by Toby Hardin, and a sad thing is we lost our commanding officer, the first commanding officer to be killed in action since I think the Falklands War. So it was quite an intense tour, 7 months of trying to stay alive. Like,
does it change your perspective on life? That?
Oh, it did massively. You have to. I think it did. Yeah, I don't think you can come back. I don't suffer with anything like that, and unfortunately people do. But maybe that's why I do have a different outlook on life, because those 2 tours, well, that first tour definitely changed everything, because of what you put through as a soldier, as a human being. I don't think we're meant to go to war. I don't know if we're supposed to go to war, but 7 months out there would definitely change anyone's outlook on life.
But there are tours and there are tours, and that one, I mean, if you're on the front line, you are at risk.
Oh, massive! There's nobody in front except the enemy, and you are challenged. But I think the only people in front of us were special forces at the time. So we pushed further north than any other battalion did in the history of the tour, in the history of the war, if that makes sense. Yeah, challenging. Yeah, but. Yeah. And
on a kind of light, but not meant to be kind of mocking note, is that if me and you are stood holding guns, I'm thinking there's a bigger chance they're going to go for you than for me if someone's shooting from...
It's a bigger target.
Exactly.
Yeah, being 6'6" out there wasn't
exactly,
great.
mate.
Bloody hell.
But we're well trained, so we can deal with anything. I think British Force is probably the best trained force in the world, second to none. So.
Was it like commando? Did you get the biggest gun?
Yeah, I did. I had a GPMG, a general purpose machine gun. Yeah, so literally, like I think the Americans have the M16 or the M60. I get confused. I think the M60 is the bigger one. So we have a GPMG, a general purpose machine gun. It can fire up to like 2.5 kilometers, just over 1.5 miles. it's this weird army stuff. But
What's the recoil on that? Mate?
Could you do it with one arm?
you can fire up, you can hold the bipod legs out the side and shoot it off the hip, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a photo somewhere on my Instagram of me holding it. It is pretty cool. 7.62 caliber rounds. So
What does the whole thing weigh?
It's not that heavy actually. I can't really remember. Maybe 15, 20 kilograms.
But it's a lot of weight.
It's huge. It's a huge weapon. Yeah.
But I suppose you're carrying it around for a long period of time.
Yeah, you carry about 2,000 rounds, which is about another 20 kilos on top of that. Plus your water, your rations, ammunition, spare batteries for the ECM, which is the electro countermeasures that we carry out there.
60 kilos of stuff?
You're carrying 60 kilos of kit, plus your 20 kilos of body armour, plus your helmet, plus the heat, plus...
Wow. That's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is unbelievable.
So you could have
Me.
80,
You've got
80
me.
Yeah, you're carrying almost, some lads will carry their own body weight.
Just imagine Radzi just straps your back all day.
No one wants that.
That'd be so annoying.
Yeah, it would be. That'd be worse than getting shot at,
Radzi, this is unfair.
I'm joking.
Yeah. Defend.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, but it's unfortunately, those sort of things happen, and I'm home safe along with the rest of the guys. Yeah.
And we're glad that you are. Does it make you almost see what Alexi's going through slightly differently?
Yeah,
Because what he did at Europe's, mate, given what you've just explained, is unreal.
It was like, I had to take a couple of minutes off because when he was talking, obviously, can't understand what the lad's saying, but I know exactly what he's going through, like firsthand. So to come out of it, to do that, to go back into it, incredible. Just shows that he is an absolute warrior. And just what the man is.
I was surprised he even got there, and I thought, well, we're not going to get Novikov that we know.
Yeah.
Because, fair enough. And I was like, listen, come, do whatever you can do. If you don't come, we understand. If you do come, we want you there. And then he went and won it. It was like, wow, that's unbelievable.
It kind of slightly dispels the belief that he's only can do it with just the right amount of perfect science training and, you're behind the Iron Curtain help from kind of nonsense,
We're usually the smaller, obviously there's a lot of massive guys.
2 training sessions.
Incredible.
From the Arnolds to Europe's.
But there's a lot of massive guys at World's Strongest Man that are so naturally strong. Usually the smaller guy, you always get the feeling that they've got to have everything perfect, all technique, and they've got to be nutrition right and the mind right. There's no way that he was right for that show.
No.
I thought he was off. I was watching him warm up for his deadlift, and it's not an insult to the man. He's World's Strongest Man, and countless other championships he's won. But I said to my coach, I don't think he's right.
Do you know the log? The log was empty on the platform, and it was 140 kilos, right? And they all came out and had a little play with it. You all came out.
Yeah.
He did it, and it looked awful.
I thought the same
Did
thing.
you see that?
Yeah.
He did it, and I was like, oh no, like that's 140. It looks terrible. And we're opening at 170.
Yeah.
I thought he's not going to do it. He's not going to do the opener. And then he did, I think he got up to nearly 200 kilos.
He's 185,
Yeah. The next one, he didn't do the 200, did he? He didn't come out for it.
he left it.
But I mean, what I'm saying is like, wow, like, what is that all about? Is there something that drives that guy?
Yeah,
is it what he's seen? This is the thing. Is it made him harder? Has it made him a tougher guy?
I think it has massively. Just an awesome bloke, to do that. It's quite hard to put into words. But yeah, what a way to do that. I mean, just to come together like that.
And the emotion in the audience was unbelievable, wasn't it? Everyone wanted him to win. As soon as it was like, hang on a sec, Alexi could win this. You could see everyone really wanted it with everything that was going on in Ukraine. I think everyone wanted it to happen.
Yeah, and it did. It was perfect. It was like, you couldn't have written it. It was amazing to watch as well.
I have to say kudos to Luke, because Luke lost on the Stones, and it wasn't a shake hands, well done, mate. It was joy that he's just done that. And I thought that was just epitomised sportsmanship.
Well, ironically, the year before, it was the opposite situation.
Exactly.
Novikov was so pleased.
He took it on the chin.
Novikov took it on the chin. Luke's won, brilliant. And it was weird that it was like a deja vu, but totally opposite,
Yeah.
Mate, you mentioned Bridgend. Are you from Bridgend originally?
No, I live in Caerphilly. So I'm just maybe half an hour outside Bridgend, yeah.
Because I went to a stag do with a mate from Bridgend, and all I'll say is, you boys party.
Yeah, the Welsh lads do like to drink, especially from that neck of the woods as well. Yeah, but Bridgend was my first taste of the Premiership, and I loved it. I played it for 3 years. It's an amazing level to play at. And 3-4 years ago, I wanted to be an international rugby player. I wanted to be the next Alan Jones.
Wow.
Yeah, but there's always something about this sport, like all of us grew up watching it. I just always wanted to be, like, even when I was training, I wanted to be the strongest guy in like pre-season. I wanted to be the biggest bench squat, deadlift, power clean. And then like
what was your 3 lifts when you were actually rugby fit?
Like 210 bench press, I think, then like 300
210 kilo bench as
Yeah.
a running fit man.
And then I had 300 kilo deadlift row, and then I had a 170 power clean. So I was kind of okay.
170
So when I came across, I was,
That's great.
yeah, I think
What
I
made you come across? Was it gradual? Was it like a moment when you thought, I'm going to do a strongman now? Was it like a...
It's the fact that he migrated from 130 kilos to 170.
Yeah. It's after I had surgery on my thumb. I played out in France for the British Army against like the French Defence Force. They don't have an army team. The Defence Force is made up of all their tri-services. And I just chopped the guy, and then I ended up snapping my thumb quite bad. I had surgery. It took me like a full year to recover because I had like 2 lots of surgery. And then I was like, I just didn't want it no more. I was like looking for a reason. I was like, right, do I do this? And I was getting stronger beforehand. And then after the recovery...
You realise you love the weights more than the...
I did, yeah.
Same thing happened to me.
Yeah, I was like rehabbing in the gym I used to train at, and then I was like, I want it.
Well, it's strange because at Giants level, obviously, we want to keep the Welsh, the Scots, and the Irish, and everything like that, and put a qualifier on for you all to come through. And I remember at that particular time, we'd had some great Welsh guys in the past, but it went a bit dry, where it was like, there's not a good Welsh guy. So someone sent me a thing saying, have you seen this guy, Gavin? So I looked on your Facebook and that. I was like, oh yeah, he's a big guy like that. Yeah, we'll have a think about him. I remember like a year later, I looked back on your Facebook like, he's put on like 40 kilos. Like, just like... Totally
You haven't changed your WhatsApp photo for a long time, have you?
No.
It's like a different human being, isn't
It is, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I like looking back. The photo from playing in the Millennium Stadium or the Principality Stadium from the finals. It was literally one of my last games for Caerphilly. I think I'm about 140, 150. I'm starting to creep up in body weight. And then I was like slowing down. I was running like I had like chewing gum and bubble gum stuck on my feet. So no matter what boots I bought, I couldn't run fast enough. So I was like, I made the decision. And being from the Valleys, I loved playing rugby. It was like, all of us do. I grew up with a great bunch of boys playing rugby, but there's just something about this sport that I don't know, just being the strongest man on the planet is pretty cool in it. So,
Do you think you'll make it?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will become the strongest man in the world. I mean, Gary Taylor, 1996, I think it was.
So, Gary Taylor was 93?
93, yeah. And he was around for a long time, and if you look at what he won everything. I mean, I'm not sure why he disappeared from the sport. I mean, literally, like, he has vanished.
But he's also Olympic lifting as well.
Yeah. He was.
By the way, in case it's not 93, can we edit in? It's 90. He was 92. He was 91. I don't lose my expert.
Gary actually came to Europe's Strongest Man a few years ago to the meet and greet.
Yeah. I saw the photo that went up. Yeah.
It was really nice listening to him. He came with his son and sat and chatted to everybody. It was great. Really nice guy.
He's so humble.
Yeah,
he's so humble. He's such a nice guy.
He is, yeah.
And he was an absolute beast when he was in great shape. I mean,
unbelievable, yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's an event coming up in the final of WSM that's Gary Taylor inspired, you could say, which is the old Flintstone lift. I think by the time this podcast goes out, we can actually say this. If not, there's a weird cut here.
Well, Gary Taylor got the world record in that. Like, was it in the Flintstone lift? I want to say, what was it now he did?
It's 200 kilos, I'm sure.
I think Gary did 260 behind the neck press. He did 265.
Yeah,
but we're also on the Flintstone. I think he did 210, which is the record still.
And if it wasn't 210,
he did 215. He did 220. You can't laugh at the same time, Razzie. He's not going to cut. Come on.
Obviously, we're setting this event up for World's Strongest Man to replicate it. But, what do we think these guys are going to get to on it now? Gary did, let's say, 210.
Fair.
What are these guys going to do now when you get Stoltman under it or someone like that?
So I reckon, if Gary did 210 on it back in the day, it was only because that's all he needed, obviously. He won it. So I think, from what I'd heard, Gary... you hear different things. What's the greatest amount of weight you could throw up overhead? Well, we've seen this, the incredible Georgian weightlifter, right?
Yeah.
He's 260.
So I think it's 264 if you pushed me, but I'm not sure.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a lot of weight from the front as well after power cleaning it. So I wonder what can any of these guys get anywhere near? I don't know. It was 230, but I'd like to see 230 got.
I think some of the numbers going up now. Paulo Dwyer's looking really strong.
Pa's so fast at doing
it.
Did you see his 120 kilo one-handed?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. Behind the neck, he just pushes it and then catches it with one hand.
It's a timing thing. That's unbelievable.
It's the timing is off the scale, yeah.
I know Bibby's not at Worlds, but I'd love to see what he could press because I know he's talked about being up around 260.
But he's literally pressed 265
strict, yeah.
And on his second pressing.
It's military, yeah.
Tom's actually very good at that. Tom's very good. Tom beat Luke at the axle at Royal Albert Hall. So it'll be interesting to see what Tom can do.
He's got great pressing power for Tom.
Yeah.
And you know about Tom as well, is I'll never forget speaking to him not long after his mum had sadly passed away. And that Tom there was a guy who had all the potential in the world, but was, if you like, someone who'd come 8th at a Giants Live. I see him there as almost where you are now, but actually you're further along than where he was, which is actually a frightening thought, to think you've got a lot of the same tools there.
Yeah, I believe it. I spoke to Terry Hollands at the last show. I do believe it. Otherwise I wouldn't have committed myself, and you've got to be willing to, like, I'm nowhere near the champion yet. I know it's a long road. My plan is make the finals this year, and then I'm 1 in 10 chance of winning. And I would back that horse all day long. So
if there's a truck pull, things like that, you know, things we haven't seen for a while, if that kind of thing was there, that's the kind of thing you
it would be.
And how old are you now, Gav?
33.
Yeah, so you got the time.
I believe it. I mean, when I played rugby, I didn't give a shit who we played. We'd always go out and win. And when I boxed, I was a decent boxer for my battalion. I wouldn't give, if you bleed...
Kill it. If it bleeds, kill it. Sorry.
I truly believe it. That you do need, it's like any sport, you need the rub of the green. You need like just something to go your way. You need everything to fall. You need to roll the dice and you need it to come up. Like so.
Yeah.
Do you have any weaknesses at the moment?
My conditioning, massively, because putting the weight on so fast, you have to forgive other things, and I did. My static strength's okay, but I can't put it down as much as I want to because at the moment I'm still working on my conditioning.
Can you go over 400 in the deadlift yet?
Yeah, 425 of the world's record. Yeah,
425 is actually the official.
Yeah, I pulled it at the deadlift.
Sorry,
I'm aiming for. There is a show later this year that's coming to my hometown, Cardiff. So
Giants Live in Cardiff.
Championships.
The World Deadlift Championship.
Are you going to be putting big there?
I want to be the first Welshman. I will be the first Welshman to pull 1,000 pounds.
I will be. To build, that's 4 or 5, 3.
Well, this World Deadlift Championships now, there was like 7 of them last year.
That was the greatest, yes, yet the worst one to be part of, because I've seen people fail 380s and 400s of these shows, and everyone at the open and everyone at 425. I was like, can somebody just please fail?
Of course, that's when you did your.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then they equaled the world record for £1,000. Yeah. Everyone, 7 people pulled it.
Sorry, that's a great lift as well.
Yeah,
you don't even remember it because that night.
Yeah, 425
so
is massive, and then everyone's like, "Nah, we did £1,000, mate. It doesn't matter."
Okay, the warm-ups are over.
Yeah, no, it's strange how like a great lift can get lost in among all that. But that was a crazy night, actually.
Yeah,
biggest ever Welsh deadlift was just lost.
Yeah,
it is crazy. I mean, like 400 kilos, because people were saying, like, I try not to read the comments, like some of these utter sausages, right, and stuff. They were saying it should have been a heavy opener. I was like, it's 400 kilos.
Yeah,
it need to be any heavier.
It just gets blown away.
I mean, sometimes we get sometimes we get it wrong. Not often. But sometimes, like the log, that surprised us. Just what was that? Leeds, was it after or before? I can't even remember.
Last year.
It was going to be fine. It was 170 kilos, and suddenly everyone went out there and struggled.
That was just.
Sometimes it's hard to tell how
guys have been doing a lot of shows and things like that. Maybe
Here's a question for you, Des. Do you think it was because of the world deadlifts? It was 2 weeks before, wasn't it?
Possibly, possibly. But some of them were at the World Deadlift Championship. Sometimes it's just how it is. It's not, it
takes a lot out of you.
You didn't have Bibby there that was guaranteed to make 200 look stupid, and the guys just worked quite on form. But the best guy still won. I know it was only 195, but it still was the same result.
You've done a 200 log in training?
In my gym, yeah.
So the rumours go?
Yeah, it is there, but
when are we going to see that one on the...
I wish it was the other week, but that was my first show back since my injury. But yeah, I can hit these numbers. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's like there's a demon in that log. I think there's like.
Well, you pull 425 out of the bag in the deadlift, so
I'm okay with certain
you just
things.
need the right contest, the right time. I guess
that's what it is. Like last year took a lot out of a lot of athletes. I will never turn down an invite. This is the federation you want to compete for. It's the top. There is no better. Like
we'll pay that £20 later.
Last year was a tough year, though. I mean, we did all our shows within 5 months instead of 12, and also the other thing was obviously we couldn't fly a lot of athletes in, so there was a lot of pressure on the British guys, and they all said, "Yeah, we'll do it." Well, like you say, where everyone's up for it, and you can't just keep getting PBs all the time.
No,
it's not like that, is it?
You had to pull the deadlift 14 days before trying to max your log out. you might feel, but like the central nervous system was shot to pieces. He won't be. Yeah, I found it hard to switch on for that show. I just like.
Caffeine can also cheat.
Caffeine is the devil. Yeah,
don't take too much of that, folks. The kids.
No, that's definitely been cut out of it. But it was a great last year. I wouldn't change nothing. I loved it.
Do you not think as well? Obviously our shows have got such massive crowds. You need to do a few to get into that, to get your mindset into that. It's almost like being ring rusty, isn't it? You know what I mean? You need to get used to all that.
It is coming up to like 10,000 plus people at an arena. I can't get used to it. I never will get used to it.
But you seem to thrive in it, don't you?
I love it. Yeah, especially it is great because, but it can't work against you. You can't like let the crowd can drain you. You give off too much and they like sort of energy sapping. But it's amazing. I mean,
at the same time, you can kind of
use it.
Pull in 10,000.
Find that balance sort of thing.
Yeah, it's amazing because
power.
Every sport, maybe there's 2 of you in the ring, but there's 10,000 people watching one person do a deadlift or 10,000 people watching.
Was it Ed said again about, you watched his face in the slow motions before the 500 deadlift, and he kind of went, he told everyone to be quiet, then he was like controlled, in his mind he was, I guess like an X-Man or something.
Could I ask you about the sort of, obviously your health challenges over the last 12 months?
Yeah.
Just because we're smiling, we're having a great time, but just how scary was that?
The worst thing was probably seeing the wife so upset. And I always joke around here, pushing to the limits, and that was my limit. I mean, it was super challenging, but this is a brutal sport, and it's for the toughest men and women on the planet.
I think we probably were best chuck in a little bit of what happened here, just to help people listening. Basically, you were probably competing too often, and is it fair to say, and too much. Caffeine was probably the number one thing, wasn't it? And you started to have some heart murmurs, didn't you, in the middle of competition?
Yeah.
I think that sort of sums it up.
Yeah, it was like, it's like trying to drink after I'm trying to have a heavy session after the night before. That makes sense? You're drinking more beer, trying to catch up with, if that makes sense.
Yes.
As a dog.
Yeah, and I was taking so much energy drinks because I was so fatigued. It's not a knock on anyone, it's me. I'm an adult. Yeah. And then I think after like the 6th, 7th can of whatever it was.
Mate,
caffeine can be great, but
we counted it up, right? It was the equivalent in Leeds of 23 monster drinks. Yeah. Full-size.
Well, do you remember Lloydie? So our friend, a boxing commentator, you'll hear him on Matchroom. He was a 400-metre runner, not world class, but was hoping to sort of be national. He nearly died because he accidentally took too much caffeine in a drink. He mismeasured. It was they've now changed on this particular website.
I've done it once as well. It's a horrific thing.
He and basically he was in hospital and they couldn't get his heart rate down for 3 days and he very nearly died. And so when I heard the amount of caffeine you had, my first thought was of him. He's a normal sized bloke.
Yeah.
Very different for yourself.
It was something like 3.2 grams of caffeine. At least the dose is 5 plus, yeah.
3.5 is what we kind of came to.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Caffeine can be a good thing.
Because you forgot that Starbucks and the Starbucks beforehand. And
it was like a coffee in the morning, then coffee before the compete, then it was like a pre-workout, then it was a pre-workout mixed up with a well-known drink with bull in it.
But that was the funniest thing. The funniest thing is Gav always said, "Oh no, I think the only caffeine I took was I took a strip of Pro Plus." I said, "Well, what did you wash it down with?" "Oh, a couple of Red Bulls." It
was.
Yeah. What did you? I had a Monster beforehand, and then my mate does the strongest pre-workout drink there is. So, yeah. How many did you take of that? Well, it says here on the online Gav, you meant to take 1. How many did you take? 6. Were they level or were they heaped? Okay.
Yeah,
we know your problem now.
These are all lessons learned, though.
It was, yeah.
What we're trying to do as well at Giants Live is
it's
now.
It's worth a warning, though. Not just be careful. Caffeine is
all
dangerous.
These guys now. We obviously always have medics there and that, but obviously, as you know now, we're working with the blood group where these guys can all get, if they need intravenous for any of the vitamins and things like that, glucose. Also, they're all getting blood tested before they compete now. Yeah. It's all there, all provided by the blood group. So it's a lot safer now. And they can advise you on things. There's doctors there for them to chat to, which is quite important. Because
imagine being optimal hydration of an intravenous drip must be outrageously
something, you get into the gym and you might be the best trainer in the world and the strongest guy in the world or whatever, and your head's right. But if you don't understand it, we're not chemists. It's like if you don't understand it, you think, caffeine gets me up for it, makes me stronger to a degree. But it's like anything, you take too much of it, it gets adverse effects. Everything's like that.
It's crazy. Yeah, so Glasgow kicked my ass hard, like, but
But you're still here.
I wouldn't change it for the world. No, I've been hit harder than that, so I'm quite tough to kill. So.
We're glad you're here because you know all you hear at one stage is Gav okay? Yeah, we believe he's still in hospital. And mate, the fact that you're as you are back training, looking dangerous for this year.
He's had a million tests. There's about a test in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to ask a question. And if you had a battery of tests, we know the answer because we've been involved in it.
Well, the amount of tests you've had was actually scary.
How many cardiologists have you seen? It was a magnificent fella from, where is he from?
Liverpool, Rob Cooper. Awesome guy. If he's going to watch this, saved my skin because that is what...
He's like the foremost expert in all these different things.
Yeah, it was crazy. He was a friend of a friend in the gym, recommended him within 24 hours I had it.
But we actually started to feel guilty because you're having so many tests and this one's okay, right, now we do this one, now we do this one. It's like, when's this going to end?
No, but I knew...
I'm sorry, I'm stealing your stories, but you can't fit in... imagine being... Have you ever been in an MRI thing? Dugga, all that. It freaks you out when you're my size.
It was tough, because the first one broke. So when I went to Liverpool...
There's only like 4 of them in Britain that you can fit in or something.
4 in Wales, and I couldn't fit into any of them. Then I had to go to Liverpool because it was a slightly bigger one. But the first one I went into broke down whilst I was in there, so I was getting really hot, and I was like squeezing the thing, and she came in, I was like, well, man, she could feel the heat, but the cooling system had broke down. I was in it for like 20 minutes, like cooking, like I was just like, this is hot, and they pulled me out, and then tried to reset it, then I had to wait. Oh my God, I was up at 5 there for 9. I think I eventually had it at 1:30 in the afternoon. Then I had to get from Liverpool. But it was literally, as soon as I finished, I was like super...
Because presumably you wouldn't even have they had to probably pull you in like that,
my arms above my head, but then the other one, the new one, was a little bit bigger.
But your lats was...
Yeah, just too big. They had to cut pillowcases, put my arms through, so put my elbows in, touch the side, because there's magnets to spin or something.
Yes.
So my elbows would touch the side of the MRI and not get too hot, so I had like pillow covers.
The noise of it, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, but I was happy when I had it done. He came in, Rob came in like, with maybe about 40 minutes, looked at what he needed to look at and was like, as it stands, everything's fine. And he wrote the report, wrote a letter.
Fascinating stuff.
Then it was...
Well, everyone was asking when he came back, is Gav all right? I said, honestly, he's had so many tests. There's more chance of any of us having a heart attack than Gav, you know.
Well, part of the big fear is, I'm probably saying it wrong, it's Holcomb or and it's, I might be wrong again here, but I think, some previous strongmen have suffered from that, and it looks like athlete's heart. So your athlete's heart is a classic one. Is your left ventricle starts to grow and thicken as you use it a heck of a lot, and most world class sports people suffer it to a certain degree. And it's not a great thing having an overly big heart, because there's only a certain size of chamber you have there, and the problem is actually recognizing when it's a genetic thing. Because a genetic thing will continue to grow and thicken after the sport. So you're accelerating the genetic problem, he says, like he's some cardiologist. But that's right, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
That was the big fear. I think I get it right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what they thought was a problem. But it was just overworked and just a stressful season. But everything was as good as it should be.
But mate, also, I imagine it's tough for medics because, I remember seeing a doc on Andre the Giant where basically they'd never had to use so much coagulant and they don't know what is too much for the body. And if you're 215 kilograms of humanity, what on earth do you do?
Have you been anaesthetised?
Yeah, I've been put to sleep a few times.
At the 200 kilo weight?
No, well, I had to have surgery on a certain part of my body.
No. A massive part of your body.
Yeah, it was my balls. Yeah,
it's massive.
Yeah,
just balls.
I was deadlifting. It was before I was involved. It was through the virus. Yeah. And I put the orange deadlift suit on, and I didn't realise it had twisted it. So literally a day later, I was just sat on the laptop doing some work, and I was like, "Oh, I feel quite sick." This is quite funny. So the wife is a nurse. I went, "Can you have a look at this, Jim?" And I just dropped my jaw. She's like, "I'm going to ring the fucking doctors right now." And it was like that, mate. So
they're normally even bigger, aren't they?
Yeah, it's
cut in half hour.
Yeah, it's just weird. I felt the pain in my groin that night. I was like, "Oh my God," but didn't. So Jem was like, "It's a death of an organ," which I didn't know about. So
death of the organ?
Yeah, because it cuts it off. Yeah, because it's an organ. So it spun around itself. It's quite unusual in adults because we're fully grown. So I was 200 plus then. It was, and she rang the doctor. So obviously she was trying to keep me calm, not letting me know what was going on. She's like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's just maybe maybe an infection or something.
Buster going that disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the doctor rang back within like 30 seconds, like, yeah, you go to surgical assessment. So I went down, and the first person to see me was a surgeon. And I was like, this is strange. He was like, yeah, can you just sign this waiver? I was like, well, he was like, well, after we knock you out, if we find out it's dead, we're going to just chop it off. I was like, chop what off? He's like, your testicle is twisted. So they wouldn't knock me out because I was too heavy. So they just injected me in the spine, and I was awake for the whole procedure. Yeah.
What a nightmare.
It was fucking unreal, mate. Yeah. So I was just lying there, and they injected me, so they curve you over, and they numb the back, and then they put these huge needles in, and I was still sat upright, and I just lay on my side, and she's like, can you lift your legs? I was like, no. So it was like 3 or 4 people trying to lift my one leg at a time to put them on the surgery.
Wow,
on the table,
so were you facing up the way? Was there like smoke and stuff going on?
No, I still had my pants on, so they had to cut my pants off. I was like, there was like 6 blokes just looking and like, it's just this fucking... They put like a little sheet over, and then you could like smell the burning as they like...
Oh,
but literally,
mate.
I couldn't feel a thing, and then I started having like a panic attack because you can't move nothing. I was like...
That's so weird.
I was numb from the nipples down. It was really weird. I
That's
couldn't...
awful.
Paralysed.
Then I went to vomit, and I couldn't vomit because nothing would contract. So I was just going...
Could you speak?
Yeah, sort of. But then they had to give me something to calm me down.
Mate, I've gone in and had in Colombia. In Colombia, an anaesthetist I weighed in at 130 or something.
Yeah.
And then, I've never done anyone heavier than 100 kilos or 90. I was like, what? How can you not have done anyone? Because they're not particularly big people. And I've probably got a little conservative. I was like, all right then. And for about a minute, I remember they knocked me out or tried to knock me out. And I was basically left paralyzed entirely, except I could just...
Oh, no.
Those were the noises I was making. I fucking remember it like it was yesterday. It was awful. I was face down as well. And
So you're more
I
articulate than
managed to
usual.
open my mouth a bit, and because I was too big for their normal things. I was on the table, and my face was just off the edge of it, and suddenly I went. And I remember thinking, I'm fucking die here. It was awful. My heart just when you get a panic like that, it's awful.
Yeah, it's great. It was horrible. Yeah, but they wouldn't knock me out because I was too big.
Oh, mate.
They said, yeah, they put everything in, put the line in me. I'm like, oh, we'll put you to sleep. It was like, perfect. And then as I went in, the surgeon was like, no, you're too big, mate. I was like, what do I do? And he was like, I'll sit on the edge of the bed, and then they put these huge needles in your spine. They numb everything up first, though. So, but then you feel like the crack, and it goes in, and it's like this big and
huge needle in there.
yeah, it's
Is that the epidural thing?
epidural. Yeah. So I was,
It's a great story, actually. Do you remember who was it again? It was Don Pope. Do you remember the old Ukraine team show?
Yeah. I used to
Where
go through it,
you go over there, you've done it, right?
Yeah.
So you have to sort of like fight, you know.
You have to wrestle.
Basically,
yeah.
wrestle some
Extra
killer,
every, yeah.
basically. And I'm sure you did it. I'm pretty sure it was Don Pope. It was either Don Pope or I can't remember. Martin was his surname. They had to basically went, listen, I ain't doing this, man. I'm gonna throw myself on the floor and go, my back, you know what I mean? And what they did was, so he did exactly that in the previous event, you know, before the wrestling, so he didn't have to take on Killer Khrushchev or whatever. And they took him into the, you know, because they were, do you remember the voodoo guy who had like the massive beard, who was always at every Ukrainian event? He was kind of bundling him in to an ambulance. Before you knew it, this huge needle came out. He faked it as well. Whack! Right up, he had a huge epidural. He was taken into hospital.
Only joking.
Only joking. Yeah.
oh wow,
It was
I
crazy.
can't remember if it was
out
Don
there,
or the other guy, but yeah. Crazy.
That is classic.
All to avoid,
to avoid wrestling.
To avoid Virusjuk, to be fair. You wouldn't want to wrestle Virusjuk
It was unbelievable.
in a wet
And
field.
We did the wrestling, obviously, in the UK. And then you got on Team UK across to Ukraine. It was either in Ukraine or Russia every year. And you get over there.
Who did you wrestle? Who did you have to go?
I wrestled Bukaitis. Remember Bukaitis? That was
Blackitis?
crazy. He was
Captain
like running
Caveman.
around me shouting. But you see, they all did it at school. They were like awesome, mate. All the Ukrainians, the
How did you
Russians,
grip him? Just the
Lithuanians.
hair.
It was just hard work.
He was so hairy.
It was hard work.
Bukaitis.
Yeah.
Sounds like an STI.
He's a really strong dude, actually. He still competes now.
He's a great dude, but he's a terrifying
He
physique.
was just
isn't
walking around, just shouting at me. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, how have we got to this point?
Easily the hairiest man you've ever met as well.
It looks like he's got a jumper on when he's doing shit.
Take your sweater off, mate. And he's
Scary stuff.
How did you get on?
Did you do all right against him?
Okay, it was years ago. Probably lost. It was a lot of years ago. No, it was good. We did all right, actually, because I'd done judo as a kid, and we had Ollie Thompson, who ended up in the UFC.
Yeah.
Eddie Elwood, we had Felix. We had some quite big guys. Yeah. But the Ukrainians were unbelievable at it. They were so good. Virastuk and all these guys, because they'd done it all their life, you know. So they were just tying us all in knots. But there's a lot of injuries.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because a lot of them didn't know what they were doing, you know.
Dangerous.
So it was just power into power. There was no technique. And there was knees getting twisted.
Virastuk was the toughest man. Did he ever show you his bullet wounds? Virastuk was sprayed 7 times in it, like with a machine gun.
Wow.
7 times?
Yeah, supposedly. I mean, I could see maybe 3 of them up his legs.
Of all the guys over the years, obviously been involved in World's Strongest Man, you meet some characters. Virastuk was just like, you know, you meet some characters. So you see these guys on the street normal, and you've been to World's Strongest Man, you think, oh, the guy walking down the street who thinks he's tough, and then you think, oh no, mate, please. But Virastuk just had this weird like air. He was
terrifying. Until finally his face would go from hey, Colin, Darren. He didn't speak great English, but I mean, nothing really. But then he's cracked a smile, and I think it was more relief than anything. When he was terrifying,
frightening guy. Something about him, he had like an air about him. He wasn't even the biggest guy or anything like that. But he was scary.
He wasn't arrogant or any of that kind of. But he was so brawny, and
you just knew he'd had a really hard life. And he was angry about it.
He was a good dude, though. Honestly, finally, he taught me how to swear in Ukrainian.
Anyhow, back to Gav.
Sorry.
So World's Strongest Man. We've covered most of the question, but World's Strongest Man coming up. How are you feeling for that? How's training going?
Oh, really good. It's quite hard. I know it sounds. I don't know. I get quite deep with these questions, but it's so hard for me to accept that I'm good enough to get invited to the Worlds. You don't invite people to make numbers up. I'm speaking to a woman about it. It's great. I think she's helped a few other athletes. I'm not sure why, but training is going really well for it. I want to be the world's strongest man. I want to do it. I want to bring that out back to Wales. It's I know the genetics. I want to make your parents proud, but you leave a legacy. You only got to win it once, and you were in history. But you will be spoken about. I remember 2022, 23, 24. This guy, I want to be that guy.
You got everything there. You got all the credentials. Yeah. I mean, don't you find, obviously, you've been to all the worlds, but like the first time you go, you've almost got to just go to just do it and see and feel it out, and you're a bit nervous and should I be there and all this sort of thing. So the first time, you've almost got to write it off as like an experience, and then go back with more confidence.
Well, like Pa. I think Pa's he went there, and I think he'll do a lot better. Second time round.
I think Pa is massively underrated. It's not a bad thing to say, but super strong guy.
Yeah. I say WSM finalist, I think. I think he'll make the top 10.
With the right events, Pa trains. Well, actually, I had a bet with Colin that Pa get on the...
I lost it, so I wouldn't bet against him again.
Pa at the Britons, I was sure he was going to get... He came down to do some training. I was sure he was going to get on the podium at Britons.
Yeah.
And also, he thinks a lot about his training. He doesn't mess around.
I thought he was always just a joker.
No, he thinks about it a lot.
That's one side of it, but he is a serious bloke.
See, 25 hours, we counted up, like 25 hours of prehab he does, you know.
Yeah.
Wow. He does a lot, looks after his body.
Stretching twice a day.
He was a bit injured at Europe. He'd hurt himself. He'd hurt his hip and his shoulder a bit, but I think if you get him on form, he's good.
Massive infrared as well.
World skews to, you mentioned conditioning.
Yeah.
Well, one-day shows are going to possibly expose that a bit more than worlds where you do have time to recover.
Yeah, it's a crazy setup to be involved in. It's kind of you do one show or you do one event and there's a few hours, and then again you got to take the heat in. The athletes compete against you. And it is quite cutthroat if you don't start pulling the weight in the first 2 events. It could be game over for you because these athletes at this level are ruthless, and as soon as they see an opening, they'll take it. But going back to training is going well. Europe's was a tough one for me to come back to. Super privileged to be there, but nerves played a massive part. I know I shouldn't say that at this level, but every athlete at any level, any sport will get nervous. Thinking about the injury from last year, it just was at the back of my mind. But when I finished,
how many years have you been doing strongman now?
This has been my 4th year, yeah.
And you had to basically take 6 months. You took 6 months off because of fears of what happened. I mean, after a hiatus of 6 months, that's not bad.
Yeah, I think I retired about 20 times it was like, oh, Gav, can you do this test? I was like, no, I'm fucking retiring. It's like, Gav, can you do this test? No, I'm fucking retiring.
How many words did we exchange in written text and message? Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'm sure you and my dad has as well.
Daily chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, I liked it though because, you know.
I think at one point you were so down. I think I wrote you this whole motivational thing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was driving to the beach actually, just go in the water for a bit. But yeah, that's crazy that you guys own this company, run this company, and then you could just be like, sort out yourself, and you didn't, which is a great part of this. I think that's just one side of this family, if you want to call it. The guys who didn't have to do anything.
I felt personally like I felt personally like you were thinking, oh, do we not want you there? And I was saying to Gav, like, we want you, like, please, but we want you healthy, we want you there. We can't risk anyone not being healthy.
Daz was driving more than anyone. I was convinced you were a write-off at the beginning. I was absolutely convinced.
I thought I was, because obviously the guy from Glasgow, when we got hold of him, said it was done, and then another doctor said it, but then when we just started looking and doing the tests, there's no more tests I can do. And I said, like, open my chest up and have a look. The guy, Rob Cooper, was like, you're good to go. And when he wrote the letter, he was like, there's no way. He's like, you're a nice guy, Gav, but there's no way I would lie.
Yeah, it's a
He's
sign,
like, because it's your
sign,
life.
man. That was so lucky that it all fell through.
But I mean, obviously, there's nothing's ever personal with these things. That's why we were like, look, we'll do everything we can because we like your character. You know, even I like the fact that we point a camera at you and there's always something good to come out of your mouth. You know what I mean? And obviously, you've got the credentials, you've got the size and the strength to go far with it. You know?
Yeah, I do believe it. It's weird that I'm here. Maybe I don't understand why I can't accept it, because with rugby, there's always someone saying I wasn't good enough. I played at a high level. I'm not going to name drop him because he's a tit, but I cut it out. But it was always something, one of the coaches was never good enough. 20 carries, 15 tackles, or vice versa. Busting my balls for a full 80 minutes as a second row. You know, don't play that long as a second row, maybe 60 good minutes. There's always something. There's always something I can do. But
isn't it wonderful to be just you accountable for just you?
Yeah, that's why I think I find it so hard to accept that I'm lucky enough. It's not luck, is it? But I'm almost at that 1% that I'm at the top level.
I think it's gratitude, mate. It's gratitude. You're obviously grateful.
Here's my one thought, having watched just so many hundreds of guys come through the thing, is I think you're going to have to, you know, it'll take a couple more World's Strongest Mans before you get that kind of Terry Hollands mentality of, I mean, why I say Terry Hollands? Because he's the master of chatting shit and just having fun, and then at the last second, flicking a kill switch and going out there, pulling out an insane... You think, what's Terry over there with his mob smoking away? He's not going to do anything, just
Terry
joking
walks
around.
around the World's Strongest Man set like he's at home in his dressing gown. No, he does. He's been there so many times.
He's so
How many
chilled,
times has he done World's Strongest Man? Like 15 or something.
He did 9 in a row before his first finals in a row before his first injury.
So like you see him walking around, he's got his cigarette and all that. It's like
15,
he's chilled
maybe?
out. And then when it comes to it, he's always got the power there. You know?
Deadlift in Sacramento last year.
Yeah.
He was just warmed up, and then before he went, he was just smoking a fag, and then pulled like 350 like 6-7 times. Incredible. And then
with a torn bicep.
Yeah, with a torn, and it was his last crack, and then that was like Lions more fierce at its end, they say, and it was like his last blast, and it was just amazing.
I think you know, but just to take lessons from Terry, I think it's that. You know, obviously things like caffeine and stuff. You obviously wanted to make sure you felt super up for it, but you know, if you don't have to need to feel up for it 2 hours before. Because if you start, that happens at Worlds. You're the best ever, one of the best ever strongmen was actually Hugo Gerard. He was unbeatable in sort of 2002, 3, those couple of years. Every single one-day show, he thrashed people. When it came to World's Strongest Man, he seemed his body weight just went... And he was just too nervous and too tense, just too intense a guy.
A lot of people warm up too soon as well. You know, if we say, right, we're going to start at this time.
I think he was an insomniac abroad as well. That was
I learned to read it, like, so it's like, right, well, those cameras aren't set up properly, and there's no way we're going to start before the cameras and read what's going on around you. Because if you warm up too soon, there's all that energy and it's gone. And warming up the second time, it's just, there's so much pressure and the energy's just gone, and thinking, right, I'm going in 10 minutes, you've got to keep such an open mind and almost warm up a bit faster.
Sometimes your best performance could be, oh no, you're kind of almost late for the bus, you're the last guy to join in round one and do whatever, that kind of thing. And people can do incredible performances off of just a bit of adrenaline and almost no warm-up.
Yeah, I was running a second year, obviously the first year when I was reserve, got told a few days before I was competing, was it 2 days before, and then the second year was I was out as an athlete. I tried watching Brian Shaw. I was sat right by him, and then whenever he would do something, I was just like, right, if he's warming up, I was in his group. I was like, I'm just gonna start warming up, and he was like, you know, the banded stuff stretching off, and then that seemed to work. But yeah, I'm still trying to find my feet, and I think the third year, I plan on making the finals and see what happens. But it's so tough to the energy thing. One show at 9, or one event at 9, and the next at 2, or next at 1, or.
And if you're in the final, you've got like over a week of competing. So
Oh, no, but I mean, even right down to the whole familiarization day where you have to go test the kit. Do you test it? Don't you test it? Do you warm up fully and go for it? Don't you?
Yeah.
And then you got guys like Brian who's sort of hanging around waiting for the end, you know, and then he'll sneak in there, you know, because he's got different techniques to try.
Yeah, it's great.
So a lot of mental energy goes into it.
Yeah.
But hey, you guys, to be a great strongman, you really have to be really, when it comes down to it, you're your own manager, your own coach, your own, you know, rehab assistant, your own, you know, everything. You're, there's not some huge coaching staff like you've
No, there
had.
isn't. No.
But mate, what's really nice, you've got a real balance. The way you're talking about your own ambitions, so you're an ambitious guy, but you're also excited to be part of World's Strongest Man, which is kind of how it should be, because it's a flipping big deal.
It is. It's. I think I said it before in my last interview. It's like the north face of Everest. It's. Everyone wants to be there, everyone wants to do it, but then it takes some serious balls to get in. How many people have climbed the North Face? There's not fucking many of them, is it? Not many people survive it in that sense, but this is the way you want Giants life, you want the worlds, and I find it really hard to accept that I'm here, but I hope that doesn't affect my performances. It shouldn't, but maybe a few more years at the worlds.
A couple of wins, you'd be all blasé.
Yeah, I need to win. A good friend of mine in the gym said I need to win an event when I was at a different federation. He said, you need your first win. And then the first time I won an event was the first year I won the title. And I won like a sandbag carry or something like that.
Oh, there's I mean, the sport is once you have that first, you know.
Yeah, you got to take some winning, and losing's a habit, and winning's a habit.
I was competing against Sadler many moons ago, you know, and that first event when I was so convinced I was going to win the Farmers Walk, and he was just sitting there at the end, you know, flexing away. I was already kind of beaten man. It was awful feeling. And you know, that whole, you know, who's going to think of just what he does, winning.
It does, yeah.
Well, Gav, we're grateful for your time. We're grateful that you're healthy. We also can't wait to find out what you're going to be achieving in the next few years, mate.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
Gavin Bilton.
cheers, Gav.
Thanks, man.